I'm Pam Hoffman, Everyday Spacer.
I'm Jeff Miller, CME Computer and IT Solutions.
At Everyday Spacer, we show regular folks how to personally and directly participate in space exploration, science, and astronomy. We're here on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, 12 midnight Eastern Time, and 2 p.m. on Saturday in Queensland, Australia. We're broadcasting live from Thousand Oaks, California. Thank you so much for being here. Tonight's episode is What About More Esoteric Higher Planes? We'll be back in 8.3 seconds. There it is. There's a link to that book in the description. If you want a signed copy of the book, right? Where is it? There it is. To Pam at everydayspacer.com for details. This is another speculative episode. Hey, Dawn, welcome.
Hi, Dawn.
Glad you're here. Last month, we did an episode about aliens, and were asked by a couple of the members of our audience about beings from higher planes, right? Is it beings?
Yeah.
Pam and Jeff had different takes. Should have edited these notes better. We had different takes on the question of higher dimensions. Last week, we talked about higher dimensions from a kind of a mathematical perspective. And this week, Jeff's going to look at it from a much more esoteric perspective. This will be pure speculation with audience participation through the comments with any luck whatsoever. Do not expect actual science in this episode. Just speculation and conjecture. Come and see our dive off the deep end. What do you have for us tonight, Jeff?
Well, first comment from Janie.
Hi, Janie.
She says, let's explore.
Yes.
I only know about Boeing planes. I don't know what sagittal and coronal planes are necessarily, so maybe you can let us know.
Alrighty.
But so, I mean, the main thing is, what is a higher dimension? We explored, a bunch of the mathematical versions of that.
Point, line,
right,
square, or plane, I guess
right.
It is. Cube, which is kind of our realm.
Yeah, hypercube. But there's a lot more. Oh, anatomy.
Anatomy.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. Sorry, folks. But there's a lot of stuff from from fiction, from philosophy, from religion about higher planes. And so a lot of people have thought about it, and not all of them fit into, here's something where a tesseract lives. And so, hopefully we'll get some interaction. I was telling Pam that, either it'll totally flop or it'll take off like the aliens episode did, where we had a lot of people chiming in and giving their ideas, which I really thought the aliens one would flop. So we'll see how things go.
It did kind of rather well, I thought.
Yeah.
Lots of people had lots to say and share, and we encourage you to share as well tonight.
Because if you guys don't chime in, it's just going to be me blabbering along. Yeah. With a lot of throwing out ideas that are possibly contradictory.
Cliff, we're so glad you're here. I saw your news on Facebook. I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk to you later.
Yeah. Because I don't know what the higher planes are. I can just make some conjectures and stuff like that.
Seems like dreams might be coming from those places.
Possibly, assuming they don't have just a purely biological,
well, there's some of them. It's like a full-blown story. You're like, wow, this is like crazy, and then there's Percocet. I don't like Percocet.
Yeah.
And some of the weirdest dreams on that.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's things like, one thing that could be mathematical and physical would be like a hyperspace.
Okay.
Which would be outside of our space.
You're talking hyperspace like in Star Trek, or when they warp 1, warp 2, and then they...
Star Wars more. Star Trek is more bending space around.
Okay.
Hyperspace is where you exit our space, go through something and come back. Babylon 5, Star Wars.
Okay.
All used a hyperspace.
It's all hand wavium to me. It's
right.
I don't even care much about the logistics. Just
right. Yeah.
Here's how we get from point A to point B because space is really big and we want to do it a little bit faster. So
right. And it's a different version of A Wrinkle in Time where you fold space and then just punch through, you know. But it involves usually going to, hey, Sally.
There's Sally. Hey, welcome. Whoops, sorry. That was me.
Hi, Sally.
Twitchy finger.
So, hyperspace generally involves us going to a different dimension.
Okay.
Where either the speed of light is actually faster than in our dimension, which means that you can go faster.
Okay.
Or it's actually smaller than our dimension. Okay. In which case it doesn't take us, you don't have to travel as far in it to get someplace as you get here.
Oh. Okay.
So that's those
and
are
when you said Wrinkle in Time, you're referring to the book, right?
Right. Yeah.
I remember reading that when I was about 8 years old. And
right. Where you take the piece of paper, you
kind of a kid's book.
so that, and then you punch through.
Yeah. She used her skirt as an example by saying, what is the shortest distance between these 2 points? And, imagine an ant walking along and they're like, well, this length. No, she took the points and put them together. And the ant could just go from one to the other, skipping all that in between.
If you take the analogy of that being 2-dimensional plane and doing 3-dimensional travel from one spot to another, think 3-dimensional and then using 4th dimensional or whatever dimensional to travel from one spot to another. Okay. Basically, the 2-dimensional plane of her skirt bends in some other dimension, which means that, and if our universe can bend, or does bend, and it likely does, and then it's doing it in some other dimension.
Okay.
So now another question is, what would a higher dimensional being look like?
We actually ran some videos.
Yeah.
This past week about that, and
yeah,
I kind of felt lost in the one.
Yeah.
The Isaac Arthur one.
Yeah. He had some really good ideas. Look at Isaac Arthur. He had one. But
I'll actually type that in for people.
Yeah. He had a few different ideas.
Like that, spelled like that, right?
Yeah. One was, we're, doing the 2D analogy. It'd be like having a 2-dimensional plane through our 3-dimensional universe.
Okay.
And that's, oh, hey, Naomi.
Hey, Naomi, welcome. Glad you could be here.
And so, just using that analogy of sticking a hand in the 2-dimensional plane, well, it's one being, but you see 5 things show up because it's your fingers.
It's kind of like the one last week with the gem. She said you could steal from the Flatlander and they would have no idea how you broke into the safe, but didn't leave any traces. Right. And anyway, hi, Scott. Welcome.
Oh,
Thanks.
Hey, Scott.
Glad you're here. Cliff, it would have to be relative to their chemical composition.
Yeah, different dimensions. Yeah. Well, for us to actually exist in them, yes. They would have to have a lot of the same physical laws. And that gets into, would they have the same physical laws? They might not. We better not end up in one. Because it's possible that chemistry won't work in some dimensions. And that's been talked about a lot because there are some tweaks, like if gravity were slightly different, there would be chemical processes that would not work, or any of the fundamental forces if they were slightly different. I mean, they make an argument that our universe is a Goldilocks universe, in that all of these things had to be just right for the chemical reactions to be able to produce life or humans. Isaac Arthur made the comment that, well, if they're different, if the different rules are, then maybe it did produce life, just not like we know it. Yet it'd be hard to, but as far as going into one of those higher dimensions, I don't think we'd ever survive it. That's why I don't think hyperspace, if hyperspace exists, it's got to be a very three-dimensional hyperspace. It's got to be a very three-dimensional plane that just has slightly different dimensions or properties from ours. Because let's say you took a two-dimensional being and lifted them off their plane into 3 dimensions. Their guts would fall out. Because their guts are designed to be bound in 2 dimensions. There's nothing holding them this way. They just fall apart. And that's likely what would happen to us if we moved into a 4-dimensional, universe that didn't have like encapsulated 3 dimensions. Now, another example.
Maybe it makes me think about getting us out into vacuum. We might.
Right. But now and I saw something like this in high school where they described it. That's where I got this from. Now, if you cut a square out of or circle out of the 2-dimensional plane and bring that with a being, then you've brought essentially their life support.
Interesting. I'm going to show this. So Daniel, welcome. And he goes, higher and lower would be less accurate. Inner and outer works better.
Right. And that's the other kind of higher plane that, that we're, that we'd have, that I was going to get to, because it's a less mathematical, and more of almost a value judgment as to, which is higher and which is lower. So yeah, we can talk about that too, but just know that unless you bring some 3-dimensional with you and you go to a higher dimension, you're not going to last very long.
Kind of like wearing a spacesuit out in space.
Right. Okay? Yeah, exactly.
All right. So you bring part of what you need.
Right. Yeah.
To exist when you go there.
Right. Because chances are real good that, you can't exist, that a 3-dimensional being can't exist there. Now, if it's set up just right, and a lot of science fiction assumes that it's set up just right, because otherwise there wouldn't be much of a story. Babylon 5, you go through the jump gate, and you just go poop. Well, that's a short show.
Well, you'd think that the people or the beings would design something that would accommodate themselves in their spaceships, basically. Right.
Yeah, but it'd probably have to be designed from something in that other dimension.
Oh.
Because how could you know how could a 2-dimensional being cut a chunk of 2 dimensions off from their plane and then take it with them in a dimension that they can't travel in by themselves anyway?
Well, we can build spacesuits for a place that we're not from.
But you'd have to essentially carve out a bit of our universe.
Okay.
So far, I don't know of any way to actually do that.
Well, there's a lot of things we don't know. I mean,
but
that we'll know in 100 or 200 or 300 or 1,000 years.
But something from a higher, from a higher count dimension, Daniel. We can. When I say higher dimension, I'm going to assume a higher count, a higher number of actual dimensions.
As the 1, 2, 3, 4 we did last week.
Yeah.
Here we go. Sally says, why would you decide yourself that other dimensions are physical like 3D?
And that's just gets, and there you go, because you get farther and farther away from what our science can come close to describing. That's the trouble. That's why I tend to stick with physical dimensions, because I'm speculating as it is, but well,
I think we have a pretty good idea of at least one other possibility, because we move through time, albeit in one direction and not necessarily variable, although I certainly feel like sometimes things go a lot faster than others. Like if you're waiting for something, always seems slower.
Yep.
If you're have a deadline, it always seems faster. We got some comments. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, Daniel.
All right, Daniel goes, which is more infinite, becoming smaller or becoming larger? Ooh, infinite. That's a very interesting question.
Yeah, we saw something on infinite.
whole video on that. Actually, I saw a different one before too, because that one was just released.
Right.
And the one I saw was very similar, but it was a different video.
Because different infinities can be different sizes.
Apparently.
And Daniel, I'll just say this. Becoming smaller, there's a limit to how small you can become. A single point. You can't become negative size.
That we know of.
So becoming smaller, I think, is a smaller infinity than becoming bigger. Just saying.
So Cliff goes, the higher dimension would have to be backwards compatible.
Yep. Yeah, that's the way hyperspaces are usually, designed.
You ready for Sally?
Yeah.
Okay, Sally says, what about pure consciousness? Where or when is that measured by 3D science? I'm not sure it is.
Yeah. Either it's just a fact of chemistry, or it exists in a different plane. And I'm going to not say dimension here because I don't know if it's a 3D, 4D, whatever. We'll just refer to planes as
other.
Yeah, as other. Yeah.
Something else. It's something else.
Right. Now, it could be four-dimensional. It could be that to be in four-dimensional, you can't have a physical three-dimensional being. But one of the things is that it'd have to be encapsulated in 4 dimensions. Just otherwise you'd have the same problem of a two-dimensional being. Now, another way to bring a two-dimensional being into 3 dimensions is you put boundaries on the two sides that aren't encapsulated by the perimeter of the two-dimensional being.
Boundaries being?
Heck, you put them between slides and just two flat things against them. Keeps everything where it belongs for them.
So that would be 3D or 2D?
Well, you'd be encapsulating them with 3D stuff.
Oh,
but they'd still be two-dimensional.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Ready for the next?
Sure.
All right. So Daniel comes back with, if there's a limit to how small you can go, it probably loops around and joins with the limit to how large you can go. Ooh, I like that. Also,
okay.
Cliff too?
Yeah.
Who knows? It could be just a slime creature.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, those are certainly interesting.
Yeah. Daniel, one of the things, my counter argument for that is that in order to have infinite in going small, you have to cut into smaller and smaller pieces. Now, when you're going large, there's no reason why you can't cut into those same smaller and smaller pieces going large. Therefore, let's say you shrink a 1-inch thing down to infinitely small. It can shrink an inch. No matter how small you slice those pieces up, it can shrink an inch.
That's its limit. That's
the limit. Now, as small as you can do those slices, you can make those same small slices to make something that's 2 inches or 3 inches or 4 inches. So as many slices as you can do to go small, you can replicate multiple times to go large. And there's, like I said, there are some really good videos on values of infinity, of sizes of infinities. And so that's, that'll give a really good thing on that. I don't think that, now, could be talking about if you go small enough, you basically reach some kind of minimum threshold in our universe and pop into another universe. Again,
it is uncanny how things look like.
Well,
the electron field sort of looks
with
like our solar system.
With quantum dynamics,
that kind of thing.
They're saying that space is somewhat granular and that there is a minimum size. It's incredibly, incredibly small, but there is a minimum size. So what happens when you're at that size or try to get smaller? Don't know.
You ready for more comments?
Fall through the cracks, yeah.
Cliff says, oh, and could form anything?
Yeah.
Also, he says, you could only get as small as a Planck length.
Right. As far as we know, Cliff. And that's just it. If we can get smaller, then our math is wrong. reality always trumps math. Our math says that we can't get smaller, but it's just like our math says that we can't go faster than light. If we find a way to do it, then the math is wrong. We need to fix our math. So, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Daniel says a hypertoroid of some kind, perhaps. You don't run out of zeros, still right of the decimal point.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's just moving in a different direction, like a fourth dimension. You're not getting smaller necessarily. It might be smaller in the 3 dimensions, but it's not smaller in the 4th dimension. You're basically moving some of it off. And that's actually one of the,
okay,
just going off on a tangent, that's how inertialist drives are supposed to work. You shunt your mass off into another dimension, and therefore it doesn't affect this dimension.
Okay.
Which means that you can accelerate to not quite infinity, because space isn't completely empty. So your thrust will match against the thinness of space, the drag from space. That's an inertialist drive.
Daniel says, if space-time is expanding in accelerating fashion, it's probably shrinking in the same manner simultaneously.
Well, my thought is that if it's expanding, what's it's expanding into? That might be shrinking. And that would mean that there's another dimension that our universe is expanding into. I don't think that there's a nothing there. But if there's another dimension that our universe resides in, then there's nothing saying that there aren't other universes.
Are they like the dolls, the Russian doll? What is that? Where they all live inside each other?
Yeah. Don't know. I think more like, and one of the things that I've seen described is universes are like bubbles expanding, and bad things happen when they bump into each other.
Like they pop?
Not necessarily pop, but different. Yeah. Oh, let's see what Daniel.
Well, we got Sally first.
Okay, let's see Sally.
It seems like you are still using time and distance in all your thinking and trying to describe other dimensions in those relative terms. Well, he's got some more notes over here that go elsewhere.
Yeah, but
so stay tuned.
Yeah. So
and Daniel says, I don't have a problem with positive and negative infinity sharing a common boundary.
Yeah.
Doppler effect. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Love your comments. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, and that's where, Sally, we talk about different planes because it could be totally different out there. And if you figure that we live in a time space, our dimension is time space. So something that is outside our universe does not necessarily have time.
Okay.
And you start hitting on religious stuff with that too. Because, creator, whatever you call him or her or it,
the great mysterious all.
Yeah. Created our universe. And we know that time and space both started at that point, which means that wherever the creator is, whatever the creator is, and we don't have the science or math to describe that place or the creator.
Some people try.
Right. We don't have the science or math. We have to basically, it's more of a philosophy at that point, not a science. You have ideas about it. But so that means that if there is a creator, they're not bound by time.
That certainly makes sense to me.
Because time is a construct of this universe.
I wonder why they would use it, though.
Keeps everything from happening at once.
But what if it is?
Well, and here's another possibility, that time isn't actually a dimension.
Right.
That we are simply have a causality loop that isn't actually time. It's just that causality requires things to happen in a certain order. Like you can't unbake a pie.
That does seem difficult.
things don't work in that direction necessarily. And
that we know of.
Right, exactly. So time could be a construct, not a dimension.
Okay.
It could be a part of the 3 dimensions, but not its own dimension.
Got it. You ready for some more comments?
Which would be why we can't travel sideways in time.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I think I'm there. But quantum entanglement doesn't take time.
Right. Which also, leads to, and here's another thought that Isaac Arthur had. I think it was him, might have been someone else, that the 2 entangled particles might actually be the same particle. They're connected, not in our universe, but in another universe. Or there are 2 particles that have some kind of connection that just doesn't go through our universe. And you're right, it doesn't take time. So it would be outside of time. And that's just it. We're never going to be able to, I don't think we'll ever be able to see this other universe. All we can do is infer its properties based on what happens in our universe.
Well, I think we can imagine some stuff too.
Yes, we can.
Is that inferring?
Yeah.
All right, I got 2 that kind of go together, so I'm going to run them both. So Daniel goes, the dimension of pure consciousness is timeless. And Sally says, my point, Daniel.
Yeah. And that's just it. If there was a dimension for consciousness, and there very well could be, I mean, if we're essentially meat puppets for our souls, that would,
I get what
then
you're
the
saying.
souls are, there's nothing in our 3 dimensions that really can, that the soul can exist in. So maybe it exists in another dimension. And here's a possibility where you put your hand into a 2-dimensional thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the souls are all one. I mean, or
So how do you eat an elephant?
Right.
Or what is an elephant? I guess it is. If you touch the trunk, you think it's a big long snaky thing. If you touch the side, you think it's a big flat plain thing. And but in fact, it's all the same critter.
Right. Yeah. So who knows? So, and that's where again, it's philosophy. We don't have the tools to measure it.
Okay.
Now telepathy should actually exist, and people have claimed it. People have not been able to prove it.
Experience, anyone?
Yeah. People. Yeah.
Yes, I'll sit there and I will question. You've been participant in this, and my sister has too, and say absolutely nothing. I say no words, but I ask a question in my mind. And both you and my sister have answered the question as though we were talking.
Right.
I would ask, how's your, in my sister's case,
right,
how's your boyfriend doing? And she said, he's doing, Chris is doing okay. It's like, what? I didn't even ask.
Yeah.
Well, and yet she answered.
Well, and here's the thing is that, yes, that's a real phenomenon. It happens, but you can't really test it. You can't set up conditions and repeat it.
You can't?
I haven't seen it ever happen.
Okay.
And that's the thing about science is that it has to be testable and repeatable.
Okay.
You have to set up the same conditions and have it happen again. And have it,
But I think there's a lot of conditions that there's no way of even knowing.
Well, and that's just,
the time and the place we were in. Anyway. Oh, okay. Check out the telepathy tapes.
Yeah. We'll take a look at that.
That sounds very interesting, actually.
So,
in all this conversation, I'm starting to get the impression of, my brain is in 3D, but my mind might be somewhere else. Mind being all the things that happen. Stop it! I can see.
You've always told me a lot of times that my mind is somewhere else.
No, but I mean, think about it. It's like the things you think about are definitely other than your small, limited brain that lives in your skull. So, I mean, could they be one's in 3 dimension and the other one is in something somewhere else?
They've got, okay, I'll just say this, taking the hard science end of it, is that they've come pretty far in explaining how the synapses work and how we have the illusion of certain things because our brains actually predicts things happening. There's a lot of predictive algorithms, and it's kind of like, if this happens, then it basically, you see a car moving, and your brain constantly, like, does it go straight? Does it turn? Does it turn this way? Does it turn that way? Does it slow down? Does it speed up? Your brain's automatically calculating those, and so it's ready for whichever one, because your brain isn't that fast.
Seems like it helps us drive too.
So the answer's already ready for it. In fact, that's where we get multi-threading for computers, of trying to make computers work the same way the brains work. Predictive algorithms, they try to predict the outcomes and just pick the one that is closest.
You ready for more comments?
Yeah, Daniel, I think.
Yeah, Daniel has, the fact that consciousness is so hard to explain is kind of evidence for it being the mother dimension.
Could be.
Janie, I'll just go through them. Janie says, how many realities exist on different planes? Who says there couldn't be like infinite?
Right, yeah.
And Sally says, there is a lot of scientific proof that the heart can predict things way before your brain does. Ooh. All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
I want to go anywhere with those?
Well, different planes. Janie, as far as we know, one or infinite. Because we can only see one of them. We can only scientifically describe one of them. So any others there either aren't any others, which I don't think, or there are others and we have no idea how many there are. I mean, and here's the example. Say our universe exists in another dimension and there are other universes.
So a multiverse kind of thing.
A multiverse thing.
Okay.
And there's science to explain it. They call it the brain theory. And it's not brain as in our brain. It's BRANE as in membrane.
Membrane, yeah.
Yeah, where there's multiple universes kind of stacked near each other. And you could have an infinite number of those. And where they bump, things might happen. And
like making a new universe.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
yeah, not so good for the two that bump, but it's good for the new one that.
Well, the Big Bang Theory was certainly a possible outcome of.
Yeah. But that's a theory, and that follows some math, and that's about as close, I think, as we can get. Now, here's the thing. Is the universe that all of the multiverses live in, is there only one of those, or are there multiple of those? And what would that live in? I mean, you can take that for forever and stop being able to describe it in anything but math equations. I mean, I can describe as many dimensions as I want by having as many variables in an equation. Like A times B times C is 3 dimensions. Add a D in there, you've got 4 dimensions. Computers do it all the time when you're, talking about different traits of something, and they're actually 4-dimensional or 5th-dimensional thinking in there, depending on how many traits that you're keeping track of simultaneously. It's like seeing a picture and mapping colors to the heat in that picture. So
a little bit like last time we had.
Right. So you've got 2 dimensions, but you're making a 3rd dimension by giving colors based on heat. You take that 3-dimensionally, and you've got 4 dimensions essentially, but it's not 4 physical dimensions. It's 4 informational dimensions. That might be a good way of thinking about things. Informational dimensions. 3 of the dimensions are spatial dimensions, up, down, sideways, etc. Other informational dimensions might just be informational as far as we can tell. Or there's infinite number of informational dimensions for our universe. And that exists in something else that has infinite number of universes that have infinite, how far do you want to take that?
It's turtles all the way down. All right. Cliff says, yes, I have. And I am pretty skeptical about that sort of thing, but was told that my daughter would be in a bad accident. She would be okay. But the other things that went with it 2 years later came true.
Yeah. And here's, I'll just take both sides of this one. Could be a real phenomena, and there's enough evidence that there's something going on there. But it could also be selective memory. And this is where the predictors, there's a whole bunch of psychics that predict a bunch of stuff. The thing is that they'll predict, 40 things, and then a year later they pick out the 2 that actually happened and say, see, I was right. Our brains are really good at doing that in the background of remembering
brain
things.
Versus mind, though, that might not be a
and that, you see,
brain thing.
That's where you get from physical to, to not physical.
I remember a story that we were told. Now, my grandfather, Dad's dad, had recently died, and Mom's mom was very near death. And she said that Harold, which is my dad's dad, came and talked to her. And so here we have this situation where maybe being close to death is, and they call it beyond the veil, is gives you a perspective that's not in the normal range of things. Mm-hmm. It was very interesting to hear that, because she was sure Harold came and talked to her and told her, I think, like he just died ages ago. So I don't remember the exact story, but it's like, okay, so are we talking about this kind of a thing when one is in one place, which we call living, and the other one is no longer, and yet they can communicate? That kind of thing.
So, yeah, Daniel.
You want to run these?
Yeah.
So time exists to keep everything from happening all at once, and space exists to keep it happening happening to you.
Keep it from happening to you.
Keep it from all happening to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if you've played any of the White Wolf games, because that's one of the things that they talk about there. But they probably got it from somewhere else. But yeah.
You could store a lot of existence and very small space if you don't need to include time.
Yep. Or if you use time and just store it in different instances. I mean, here's the thing: if you're outside of this universe, you could store things in the same spot at multiple times.
Even in the same spot in other dimensions, right?
Right. Yeah.
It can all be happening right here. It's just you can't tell.
Right, and that's so. Yeah. That would be okay. People say that God is omniscient. Now, if time doesn't exist for him, he could look at each little spot for as long as he wants, and then look at another one and move different times, different locations, spend as much. So that's essentially omniscient, just not all at once.
Ready?
Yeah.
So Sally goes, isn't that how we store multiple traumas, even just emotional ones?
Possibly. I mean, I don't know. I tend to think of things scientifically. So, we get into, Sally, a lot of places where I just say, I don't know, because I don't.
Perfectly valid answer.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah. So, and what, yeah. And Sally and you, and I think someone else commented that I tend to, talk mostly about the physical dimensions and stuff like that, because that's what I know. And that's what I can speculate on more easily than just making stuff up. You know, for me, talking about the other stuff is making stuff up because I don't know enough about it.
That's a strange factor. The more you learn, the less you seem to know.
Yeah. Well, the more you learn,
some lyrics in a song.
Yeah. The more you know, how much you don't know. I mean, but because, you know, having multiple dimensions all bound by time is easy for us to visualize. But having something that's outside of time is harder to visualize.
And Sally says, sorry, I meant that as a statement rather than a question for you.
That's fine. You know, that's it's a valid statement. It's just I am not equipped to, you know, to have an opinion about that one because I just don't know. So
you have some more notes over there?
Yeah, we've covered most of it. We've covered most of it.
Good.
So let me just see if there's anything that I missed.
And certainly your comments.
Yeah.
Keep coming.
Well, yeah. And
we'll see what happens.
You guys, you know, pulled the comments into pulling me out of order of my notes because
that's okay.
Yeah, and that's fine. So yeah, I think we've run out of my notes. So at this point, because I kind of been here that, you know, that a lot of the ideas that we have are contradictory to each other.
I don't really have a problem with that.
Yeah, I know. Neither do I. It means that, you know, one or both of them might be right, you know, because if there's an infinite number of universes, then somewhere they might both be there. But if you're talking about infinities, our universe might be infinite. We can only see out to a
13 billion years
or
something.
Out to, you know,
which is getting farther because of the James Webb Space Telescope.
Well, no, it's not.
Kind of fascinating.
Yeah,
what we can see, what we can observe.
Yeah, because it can see lower and lower into the red, which things redshift as they get farther away. But theoretically, we know how far we would be able to see because of the speed of light. But if our universe exists past that, there's a whole bunch of our universe that we can't even see. That we'll never be able to see unless we can go faster than light.
Oh, I love this. So Daniel says time trauma. I don't know what that word is. Just playing with anagrams. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And Scott says, I love the directions this discussion is going. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's where.
Thanks for coming along on the ride.
Yeah, and it's good for us to learn from you guys too.
Oh yeah, all the time.
And you know, gave a couple of things that hadn't occurred to me, so that's something that I'm going to noodle on a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely want to look up the what did Sally say? It was the telepathy tapes. That one.
Yeah.
Check out the telepathy tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely think that's a possibility, especially after the experiences I've had and just things that my family has talked about. Like my sister seems to have had an encounter with a ghost. Talk about a different dimension.
Ah.
Is that someone who's still here, or is she?
Oh,
I don't know. When you're half asleep, you certainly get to other things, and
right.
And I think people have tried to wake themselves up, like, you know, holding a thing of keys in their hand and having it fall into a clangy thing, so they just catch themselves on that right at the cusp of falling asleep. And there's what is that? The theta.
I forget. Yeah.
Theta. I bet somebody out there knows.
Yeah.
But just to have that kind of insight into things. Yeah. Oh, and then we were just listening to something about Tesla. He would go on walks and get bored on purpose, so that a different part of his brain would take over.
Right.
Isn't that what that was?
Yeah, and we have so many micro distractions, you know, like cell phones, you know, playing with our cell phones, that we're never bored, so our brains don't kick into that gear.
Right. Okay, we got a couple comments. Daniel said, I would be quite surprised if we had all the explanatory tools to understand the extent of reality.
It'd be a very limited reality if we do.
Well, heck, just think of the our eyesight. We have this kind of range in the electromagnetic field, but this kind of range, what we can see.
Yeah. And
I like this comment too.
Yeah. Twins are usually connected somehow. Yeah.
We've noticed that.
Yes.
Jeff has some really good friends that are twins.
I've had, until recently, I've always had friends who are twins. Wherever I've moved to, I've had friends who are twins.
Jamie Becker says, half asleep or under the influence of anesthesia, variance in experiences.
Yeah.
Oh, and that just reminded me of, how about the person who has come to the brink of death and then comes back and talks about what they've experienced, and it seems like there's some range to it.
Yeah. Oh, and Daniel, about your comment about, I'd be surprised, that we saw earlier. Have you seen the James Burke series, The Day the Universe Changed?
Fabulous.
I rewatched that one just because I sometimes get other things from it on further watchings.
Oh yeah.
But the main contention of that series is, at every point in our history, we've known exactly how the universe works.
Until we didn't.
And at every point in history, we've been dead wrong.
Like everything rotated around the Earth until it didn't.
Yeah. So I know that we have the best explanation for the universe with the tools that we have now. But every time something happens that our tools can't explain, and that's when everything changes.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah. So right now we're in a bit of a lull. We haven't encountered something that really disproves any of our tools yet. There's a bunch of things that are a little bit shaky. They're trying to rework the math to make them fit into and without having to scrap anything. But so we haven't right now, the main thing is quantum versus physical reality, or macro reality, as they call it.
Oh, okay. I hadn't heard that one.
Macro dynamics versus quantum dynamics. They don't necessarily mesh, but they're trying to make it, they're trying to figure out how they might mesh without totally rewriting stuff.
Ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. So people who take the African psychoactive plant medicine, ibogaine, go on a remarkably similar psychedelic experience that is hard to account for with traditional theories.
Interesting. Now, here's the thing, Daniel. Did they do tests that people from different cultures have the same experience? Because, I'm just, the scientist part of my brain says it's possible that they expect certain things, that they've grown to expect certain things about it. Just like a bunch of Christians would probably have their own, set of, things that, assuming their brain was let loose to make up stuff, and here's the thing is that, is it the brain making up stuff, or is it seeing something that you can't normally see?
There's a wonderful scene in the Babylon 5 series where the Vorlon actually leaves his suit, and every single being who sees it sees something different.
But sees
in their own image, basically.
In their own image, yeah. And but that's because the Vorlons basically genetically seeded every single race to see that. That was their explanation for it.
And Sally says, "Hold on to your hat."
Yeah.
Tell us what you know, Sally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, a psychoactive plant. Well, and I'll talk about something I've been experiencing. I've been watching Korean shows, and mostly I see them and think, well, that's a lot of the same sort of thing we see. And then every now and again, there's like, oh, isn't that interesting? It's sort of a Koreanish thing that we don't see in our culture. But yeah, it's a good way to travel without going anywhere. All right, so Cliff says, very true. Your previous experience may take you anywhere. But science has proven that observation and intentions affect the movement of energy and particles. Can you measure intention, imagination, Intuition. That's very interesting because, yeah, weren't we just watching something about the particle versus wave thing? And
right. Yeah.
As it was being observed.
Well, as soon as
it changed.
As soon as you observe it,
yeah.
The waveform basically consolidates down into a particle. Basically, the observing it makes it pick one. Essentially, is what's happening.
Yeah.
Because it can exist in a lot of different places, and
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Gene.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. All right. Anything else that you have for us?
Oh wow, we've gone pretty long.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as far as consciousness goes, here's a thought just from it's a physics math thought experiment, is that an electron can change into another particle, and theoretically that other particle actually travels backward in time. Doesn't affect our universe much, but it travels backward in time. So if it can do this, and each electron is actually a waveform that can exist theoretically anywhere, but it's most likely to exist where you see it. And since it can be constantly going back and forth in time, there might only be one electron in the universe. It's going back and forward in time and existing in all of those places just because that's where it is when it's going forward in time. Again, no evidence for it, just a thought experiment of could happen, but probably not.
That's trippy.
Yeah.
All right. So Cliff says mostly based on what your subconscious has in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: if we were to go to another dimension, would we see it as it is, or would we see it as our brains have been designed to interpret it?
When we think about Flatlanders doing the 3-dimensional tour.
Right, yeah. It's like, so we might only be able to observe it in 3 dimensions, even if it's not in 3 dimensions.
Sally says, where is that, Cliff? Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be, well, almost everything is based on your own. Because all you have is your own perspective on really anything. You don't live someone else's experience. You don't live their life. You don't see things through their eyes. It's like some people looking at the same color and thinking one might call it rose and one might call it red. We've done that. You said one thing looks red and I think it looks orange.
Well, and here's the thing: unless we have telepathy going really, really well, there's no way to tell that 2 people see the same color the same. Like when I see something blue, I see something that looks like blue, but there's no telling that when you see it, you see the same thing. It's blue. I mean, what you see as blue is the same thing that I see as blue, because
apparently we're making all that shit up because colors just don't exist.
Right. So, but they might not look the same to each of us. That's just a, something to think about. It has nothing to do with this topic, but it might. I mean, if you're thinking of interpreting things, and
we got more comments. You ready?
Sure.
When a particle goes from forward time traveling to backward time traveling, I bet it has to come to a stop and go into the timeless dimension of the superconscious in the process. And Sally says, where does our subconscious live? Cliff answers, I'm sprung, Forbidden Planet.
Oh, yeah.
There's 2 of them. Which one is it? Must be the...
Yeah, Forbidden Planet is, all about the id, yeah.
Oh, right.
But,
well, that one is.
Yeah.
The other one's something completely different.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot to think about there. Not a lot of scientific answers. Most of the answers are philosophical, because science requires testing and and being able to, to recreate it. So, science doesn't really handle that sort of thing. So philosophy is what we've got at the moment until we can get better science.
Well, you know what they say about things like magic. It's just something. How's it go? So if it's sufficiently
advanced, science looks like magic.
Yes.
And the corollary to that is sufficiently advanced magic looks like science. I forget who did the corollary.
I don't know, but the first one was Arthur C. Clarke, right?
Yeah, and one of his buddies came up with the other one.
Of course. Aren't there an infinite number of subconscious existence all of the time for various definitions of infinite?
Or, Sally, think about this. Maybe there's only one.
Like the one electron theory?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sally, that feels intuitively correct to me.
Sally, you said, right?
Yeah. Oh, Sally. Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for the correct. I'm just reading them. Did you call me silly?
Oh, no, comment fight. Get your popcorn, folks.
We would never do that. Unless you're okay with it.
What, get the popcorn?
It's the silly Sally thing.
Yeah.
You can call me silly. I don't care. All right. So.
Yeah.
Have we sufficiently
or
completely insufficiently delved into this particular topic?
Brought up a bunch of ideas and don't have
blasted autocorrect. Yeah. Yes.
Brought up a bunch of ideas that we don't really have answers for yet.
They're all dangling out there.
Different people believe different things, and that's fine.
Absolutely. All right. Okay. So we do have a little bit more of this episode to carry on for you. I just want to say, first of all, that Everyday Spacer is sponsored by CME Computer and IT Solutions. Thank you so much. Some stellar events this week. We're talking October 3rd. It's so funny to see those through October 10th. I have a typo. It's the beginning of the month, so I want to remind you that skymaps.com is a really great resource for a free downloadable. It's got a stellar map and some ephemeris and some stuff to look for and some glossary. It's a great 2-page PDF that you can print out every single month for free at skymaps.com. I really love it for so many reasons. And I've got the Farmer's Almanac for you as well. I'm going to read it off my screen though, because it's much bigger there. Yes, Janie, thank you to all spacers. All right, very good. So I'm going to go ahead and read this. Each morning at 6:15, Venus blazes in the east, each day steadily lower and dimmer all month long, while Jupiter gets continually higher. But observers will mostly focus on the evening, when Saturn, having risen before nightfall, will be halfway up the southern sky by midnight. On the Pisces/Aquarius border, the ringed planet is surrounded by only dim stars, so its solitary brightness highlights its location, which is just below the moon on the 6th. That's just a couple of days, right? Mm-hmm. It's just, oh, wait. Yes, thank you. Viewable through a telescope, the brightest star nearly touches Saturn's rings. Is its giant moon, Titan. The only celestial body besides Earth with a thick atmosphere consisting mostly of nitrogen. The waning crescent moon meets Venus on the 19th. Okay, we got to go ahead and comment.
Clip says, you are the best friends, and it's just a shame you're 11,000 kilometers away.
It's 11,000?
11,800. He apparently measured it. I'd love to see the meter stick that you used. Love all this banter with great people.
Yep. That includes all the audience too, and then we got one from Daniel.
Yep. Daniel says,
"See, my favorite person to see me out." Interesting. I'm going to talk about October 4th because I don't generally delve into history, but this is pretty significant because in 1957, the Soviet Union launched the first artificial satellite, Sputnik 1, which basically kicked which basically kicked off the space race. And I call it I was born in how do I say it? I was born in the space something. Anyway, so the age of space. All right. So October 5th, the moon is on the equator and at ascending node. And Saturn and the moon are in conjunction. In fact, Saturn is 3.8 degrees south of the moon. You're going to...
Yeah.
It's on the side. Oh, right, because Pomona's there and here.
Yep.
That's right. That's it, Sally. He's got a signpost. We should have one in Pomona for Pomona in Australia.
Yep.
I don't think we do, but all right. October 6th. Let me begin again. October 6th is the full harvest moon, and Neptune and the moon are in conjunction. October 8th, the moon is at perigee, and Jupiter is 6.6 degrees south of Pollux, which is one of the Gemini stars, the main Gemini stars. October 9th, the Pleiades is 0.9 degrees south of the moon, and there's some meteor shower. It's more like a drizzle, though, because it's the Draconids. They peak October 9th, but you don't have to wait till midnight. You can see these in late evening, but there's like 6 an hour.
Yeah, that's like one every 10 minutes if you're lucky.
And this is from the Giacobini-Zinner comet. But the moon on October 9th is waning. Oh. It's only 3 days after the full moon, though, so it's kind of big, but it doesn't come up until like 2.5 hours after sunset. You basically measure 50 minutes, 50, 150 minutes, which is about 2.5 hours after sunset. So, yeah, if late evening works for going out looking, you're just going to have a moon pretty quick after that. Mm-hmm. All right, October 10th, Uranus and the moon are in conjunction. It's also the Friday night show, where I'm going to delve into another crunchy topic. Stay tuned for that. Find us Fridays at 9 p.m. Pacific time on the Everyday Spacer Facebook page and the Everyday Spacer YouTube channel, assuming it works, because tonight one of them did not work for Facebook. What inspires you the most for the coming week? And then there's yours.
Okay, if you or someone you know has done something interesting involving space exploration, science, or astronomy, we'd love to share our live. Join us again next Friday, October 10th. It's a crunchy topic, VRO. And
the Vera Rubin Observatory. Remember we did an episode about that not too long ago? I think we just barely skimmed the surface. I want to do a deep dive, a crunchy, take a look at all the little bits and pieces in there. Well, okay, maybe not all of them, because I think it's a very complicated piece of equipment, but we're gonna delve into it more. I see a comment, yeah.
Yep. Daniel says, overstanding. That's what the Rastaman calls understanding.
I see.
Maybe that's how you measure the connection. Yeah, I think he's talking to Sally.
Well, and Cliff, yeah, for the Pomona thing.
Yep, and another operation on my 10th.
Oh goodness, another one.
Oh. Well, I really hope things come out well for you, Cliff.
We will be thinking of you, Cliff.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for letting us know. All right, so I think we're gonna do our shout out, unless you got something else.
No.
We will still continue to watch for your comments as well. We had Cliff here, and Daniel, and Sally, and Janie.
And Naomi was here.
Naomi and Dawn. Dawn was here, right?
Yep. And Scott.
Scott was here.
Yep. I think that's.
Did we get everybody?
Yep. I think we did. Hey.
And it is always a better show when you are here to set us straight or make us think.
Daniel
or
says,
all kinds of things.
Happy Operation Birthday, Cliff.
God.
Naomi says, well, thank you guys. Such an interesting show today. I'm glad because I thought this would either go well or it would totally flop. But then I thought the alien show would flop, and that was really one of our best shows. So, that's and that was there when people asked about beings from higher planes, and that's what gave the inspiration for talking about higher dimensions. And so Pam took the science aspect of it, and I took the kind of a little bit farther than science. Okay, yeah. And Naomi.
Oh, good.
No, I loved it. Definitely not a flop.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate the feedback. And yeah, you want to know about something, or you want to come and be a guest on the show because you know something really cool, you've done something really cool, we'd love that. That would be awesome.
Or if you have a question like, what about beings from higher planes? I mean, before the aliens one, we never really touched on stuff like that.
Nope.
Because I can only answer things from experience and science.
When people ask me, and they do, I have to say I have no expertise in that area because I don't.
Yeah. So,
I don't.
But it could lead to an interesting discussion, just like this past couple have. So I'm all for it now. Because I'll let you know where my experience and knowledge stops.
Yes. All right, folks, have a really great week. We will talk to you next week
Yep.
about the Vera Rubin Observatory in a little more crunchy terms. Oh,
yes, that's all.
Keep on keeping on. Yep. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for that encouragement, Sally. Thank you, Cliff. You as well.
Yep.
Talk to you later, folks.
Yep.
Have a great week.
Good night.
Good night.